For many of us during this pandemic, things have been really, really lonely. We've been stuck at home by ourselves, lots of us, not able to see people, not able to express how they feel. Even if you live with some people, perhaps they're not people you can be honest with and talk with, and you don't have a great relationship with them, so you feel lonely and stuck. That's completely understandable, isn't it? Like, this lockdown has never happened before. Support networks and friends can be just dropped like that. People you might meet regularly that you don't even realise have a massive impact on you, you don't see anymore. Talking over the phone is difficult, and even if you can keep it up and you can keep Zoom up, it's not the same as seeing people face to face. So it's really easy at the moment, even though things are a bit better now, when you're struggling with loneliness, for it to just spiral and get worse. You're alone, you're out of contact with others, so you're left to your own thoughts, and all of a sudden the idea comes into your thoughts that perhaps you're because you're alone, no one cares about you, and because you're all alone and you've only really got your thoughts you listen to your thoughts far more than you'd like to, you can get into a really tricky cycle whereby those negative thoughts just keep spiraling around and around and around and around, and your loneliness grows to the point where you're convinced no one cares. And we just can't focus like that, function like that. It's awful. We're made to love and to be loved, and when we don't do that, things just go wrong. It can get really bad when you're lonely. But if that resonates with you at all, I'd love for you to think about a couple of things. Well, one main thing today, really. It's from the Christian faith, and I think it can really help. In fact, I think it's probably the best place to start in trying to deal with loneliness. I want to invite you to do one thing. Into that cycle of thinking, where it gets more negative and more negative, and you're just obsessed, your own thoughts are the only thing that are really dominant. Into that cycle, will you let God speak? Because he wants to break that cycle apart with his gracious words to you. The God who made you, who is big, who is powerful, and is entirely loving, whose opinion is more important than actually anybody's, especially your own, he speaks words of love. The Psalm 103 says, the Lord is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, abounding in love. He says to his people to come to him. He wants to know them. He wants to lead them like a shepherd. He cares about them. All these pictures of God loving his people and wanting them to know how much he cares about them and how much he loves them. Now just think about the impact knowing that can do to that cycle. It can do the world of good, especially because he's the one we were made to be loved by, and we were made to love more than anything else. It's sometimes hard to hear that, and you might need people to say it to you, that God loves you. But if you come to him, I don't know if you're a Christian or you're not, but if you come to him and you give your life to him, say, I want to be one of your people, you might need to say sorry if you've not done it before, because there's a very good chance, like everybody who belongs to him, they've turned away from him to some extent, and they've sinned, and they need to say sorry so he can forgive them. But remember, he's abounding in forgiveness, and he'd love to forgive you. But if you come to him and say, God, I'm really lonely, I don't think anyone loves me, please help me to know that you love me, he will. If you get your Bible open and read it, God will speak to you. If you go to a church where there are lots of God's people who know this fairly well, they'll speak these things to you, and they'll also give you people, a family actually, to hang out with. So invite him into that conversation, which is often just so dominated by your voice. He loves you. He cares for you. He wants the best for you. He actually wants you to grow up to become more like him and to become a better version of yourself. God is really bothered about you. So don't let those voices spiral around and say no one cares. God cares. Let him in. He'll speak to you, and it could change your life.